Every bite you take is either feeding your brain or slowly destroying it. And the scary part is that most people have no idea. From common foods that shrink your memory to everyday snacks that speed up brain fog, the damage builds silently year after year. But it's not all bad news. In this video, we'll uncover 7 foods that quietly attack your brain and reveal 2 powerful foods proven to sharpen your memory and focus. By the end, you'll know exactly what to cut and what to eat if you want your brain to stay sharp for decades. Number 7. Sugary drinks. When most people think of brain health, they imagine puzzles, reading, or maybe supplements. But the truth is, one of the fastest ways to weaken your brain is hiding in your fridge. Sugary drinks, sodas, sweet teas, flavored coffees, even so-called healthy juices don't just load your body with calories. They change the way your brain works. Every sip of a sugary drink hits your bloodstream with a rush of glucose. At first, your brain loves this. Sugar is energy, after all. But just like a roller coaster, what goes up must come down. Your blood sugar spikes, then crashes, leaving you foggy, irritable, and craving more. Over time, this constant rise and fall damages something critical: your hippocampus, the part of your brain that controls learning and memory. One major study from Boston University found that people who drank 1 or more sugary beverages per day had smaller overall brain volume and poorer memory function than those who didn't. Imagine that. The more soda you drink, the smaller your brain may literally become. And it gets worse. Researchers at UCLA discovered that high sugar diets can actually slow down communication between brain cells. Think of your neurons like internet cables. Normally, signals shoot through quickly, but when you're overloaded with sugar, it's like your brain is stuck with dial-up internet. Slower responses, slower thinking, slower you. For seniors, this can be devastating. Memory loss, difficulty concentrating, even an increased risk of dementia. In fact, people with diets high in sugary drinks are far more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease later in life. Don't think diet sodas are a free pass. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose come with their own risks, including changes to gut bacteria that affect your brain's chemistry. So what can you do instead? Cut back slowly. If you're drinking 2 sodas a day, drop to 1. Replace it with sparkling water, unsweetened tea, or plain water with lemon. Over time, your taste buds actually reset, and you'll notice real flavors again, not just the fake sweetness sodas train you to crave. The good news? Stopping sugary drinks can actually reverse some of the damage. Studies show memory improves, focus returns, and the brain's ability to learn rebounds when sugar intake is reduced. Number 6. Processed meats. Bacon sizzling in a pan, a hot dog at a ball game, cold cuts stacked on white bread. For many people, these foods are comfort. Salty, savory, easy. But here's the truth nobody likes to admit. Processed meats aren't comfort food, they're brain killers. Let's start with what processed meat really means. We're talking about bacon, hot dogs, deli meats, sausages, pepperoni, anything that's been smoked, salted, cured, or packed with preservatives to extend shelf life. Behind that cocktail of chemicals your brain was never built to handle. The first culprit? Nitrites and nitrates. These compounds keep the meat pink and fresh looking, even after weeks on a store shelf. When they enter your body, they can form something far more dangerous. These are toxic compounds that can actually break down the protective barrier between your bloodstream and your brain, the shield that keeps toxins out. Once that barrier is compromised, harmful substances slip through, inflaming and damaging brain cells. And then there's the salt. A single hot dog can pack over 500 milligrams of sodium. High sodium doesn't just strain your heart and kidneys, it also hurts your brain. Studies show that too much salt reduces blood flow to the brain, starving it of oxygen and nutrients. Over time, this can lead to cognitive decline, problems with focus, memory, and processing speed. Many processed meats are also high in saturated fats, which clog arteries and raise bad cholesterol. Poor circulation means less blood to the brain, and less blood means less fuel for your neurons. A large-scale study out of the UK found that people who regularly ate processed meats had a 44% higher risk of developing dementia. That's not a small bump. That's almost flipping a coin on whether you'll keep your memories intact as you age. So, what's the alternative? You don't have to give up meat altogether. Swap the bacon for fresh turkey slices. Replace hot dogs with grilled chicken. Choose lean, unprocessed cuts of beef or pork instead of pepperoni or salami. Number 5. White bread and refined carbs. White bread feels harmless. It's soft, cheap, easy to chew, and for a lot of people, it's been on the table since childhood. But when it comes to your brain, White bread and other refined carbs are one of the sneakiest traps hiding in plain sight. Your body digests refined carbs almost instantly. The flour used in white bread, white rice, and many processed snacks has been stripped of fiber, protein, and nutrients. What's left is basically pure starch, which your body breaks down into sugar at lightning speed. Eating a slice of white bread is almost the same as dumping spoonfuls of sugar straight into your bloodstream. Your blood sugar spikes, your body scrambles to release insulin, and then, just as quickly, your blood sugar crashes. That crash leaves you feeling tired, foggy, and struggling to concentrate. Over time, that roller coaster of spikes and crashes damages the brain itself. Researchers now call Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes, because of how closely it's linked to insulin resistance in the brain. When your brain cells can't properly use glucose for energy, they start to weaken, misfire, and eventually die off. A study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease found that diets high in refined carbs and sugars were strongly associated with a higher risk of cognitive decline. Another study showed that people who regularly ate high glycemic foods like white bread had a much greater chance of developing memory problems compared to those who ate whole grains. So what's the better option? Swap refined carbs for whole grains. Whole wheat bread, oats, quinoa, barley, or even sourdough bread are far better choices. Unlike white bread, they still have their fiber and nutrients intact, which means they digest more slowly, give you steady energy, and don't overwhelm your brain with sugar surges. The shift doesn't have to be extreme. Try mixing in whole grain toast with your breakfast or switch one pasta meal a week to whole wheat or lentil-based pasta. Over time, your taste buds will adjust, and your brain will thank you. Number 4. Fried foods. Crispy, golden, comforting. Fried foods are designed to be addictive, from French fries to fried chicken, onion rings, and donuts. They look harmless on the outside, maybe even nostalgic. But when it comes to your brain, fried foods are like pouring rust straight onto your neurons. Here's why. Frying oil is heated to extremely high temperatures. At that point, the oil starts breaking down into toxic byproducts called free radicals. Free radicals are unstable molecules that attack your body like tiny sparks, damaging cells wherever they land. When they target your brain, they chip away at the structure of neurons. A study published in the journal Nutrients found that people who consumed more fried foods scored significantly lower on memory and learning tests. Another large-scale study linked frequent fried food intake with smaller brain volume, literally, shrinkage of brain tissue in areas responsible for memory and decision-making. Foods are often cooked in cheap oils loaded with trans fats and omega-6 fatty acids. Trans fats are among the worst offenders for brain health, blocking communication between neurons and increasing the risk of Alzheimer's. Excess omega-6 fats throw off the delicate balance with omega-3s, fueling chronic inflammation throughout the body. And inflammation is one of the key drivers of dementia. The good news? You don't have to give up that crispy texture entirely. Air fryers use little to no oil while still delivering crunch. Roasting vegetables in olive oil brings out flavor and antioxidants without the same chemical breakdown as deep frying. Even baking breaded chicken instead of frying cuts down dramatically on the toxic compounds. Number 3. Artificial sweeteners. Walk down any grocery aisle and you'll see them. Diet, sugar-free, zero-calorie. These words feel safe, even healthy, especially if you're watching your weight or trying to cut sugar. But behind the colorful labels and promises of guilt-free sweetness, artificial sweeteners hide a disturbing truth. Let's start with aspartame. This sweetener is used in diet sodas, sugar-free yogurts, gum, and countless light products. Once inside your body, aspartame breaks down into several compounds, including methanol. In your system, methanol can convert into formaldehyde. Yes, the same chemical used to preserve dead tissue. Studies have raised alarms. Research published in Research in Nursing and Health found that people consuming aspartame reported significantly higher rates of memory problems, mood swings, depression, and anxiety. Another study linked regular aspartame intake with reduced learning performance and increased oxidative stress in the brain. It's not just aspartame. Sucralose, saccharin, and potassium may disrupt gut bacteria, which directly affects brain health. The gut-brain connection is real. The bacteria in your gut produce chemicals that influence memory, focus, and even mood. When artificial sweeteners wipe out healthy bacteria, your brain pays the price with more inflammation and less resilience. Here's the kicker. Artificial sweeteners trick your brain. When your taste buds sense extreme sweetness but your body gets no calories, your brain gets confused. Over time, this disrupts your ability to regulate hunger, and blood sugar. That's why people who regularly drink diet sodas often end up craving more sweets and developing insulin resistance anyway. As we age, the blood-brain barrier becomes weaker, meaning chemicals from artificial sweeteners can slip through more easily, causing even greater harm. Natural alternatives like stevia or monk fruit offer sweetness without the neurological risks. Even small amounts of raw honey or pure maple syrup can be a safer choice, as long as they're used sparingly. Number 2. Trans fats. If artificial sweeteners confuse your brain, trans fats do something even scarier. They physically damage and shrink it. Trans fats are found in packaged pastries, frozen pizza, margarine, fried fast food, and shelf-stable snacks. For years, they were marketed as healthy alternatives to butter. But today, science is clear. Trans fats are among the most dangerous substances you can put in your body, especially for your brain. Your brain is nearly 60% fat. The membranes around your brain cells need healthy fats to stay flexible. This flexibility allows your neurons to communicate quickly, which is essential for memory, learning, and decision-making. Trans fats act like imposters. They mimic natural fats but have a distorted chemical structure. When they sneak into your brain cell membranes, they make them stiff and brittle. Imagine trying to have a conversation through a wall of concrete instead of glass. That's what happens when brain cells loaded with trans fats try to communicate. A long-term study published in Neurology followed thousands of people for a decade and found that those with the highest levels of trans fats in their blood were up to 75% more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. Another study from Japan showed that people who consumed more trans fats had smaller brain volumes, particularly in the areas linked to memory and learning. Trans fats also fuel inflammation throughout the brain, accelerating aging and making your brain more vulnerable to strokes. Even though many countries have banned or limited trans fats, they still hide in foods under labels like partially hydrogenated oils. Check your pantry. Cookies, crackers, microwave popcorn, frozen pizzas. Number 1. Alcohol. When most people think about foods or drinks that hurt the brain, alcohol often gets a free pass. A glass of wine with dinner, a beer on the weekend, maybe a cocktail to relax. It feels harmless, even normal. Some people even believe it's healthy in moderation. But here's the truth. Alcohol is one of the most damaging substances for your brain. In the short term, you've seen what it does: slurred speech, poor coordination, memory gaps. That's alcohol interfering with the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for learning and memory. But over time, even moderate drinking can physically shrink your hippocampus. MRI studies have shown that people who drink regularly, even 1 or 2 drinks a day, have smaller brain volumes than non-drinkers. Seniors metabolize alcohol more slowly, which means the same drink that felt fine in your 30s hits your brain much harder in your 60s. Researchers now call alcohol-related brain damage one of the most preventable causes of dementia. Alcohol also damages the white matter of the brain, the wiring that allows different regions to communicate. The result? Brain fog, slower thinking, difficulty concentrating, and problems with decision-making. Alcohol is a depressant, and long-term use changes your brain's chemistry, lowering levels of serotonin and dopamine, the chemicals that regulate mood. That's why heavy drinkers often struggle with depression and anxiety. You might think, but isn't a little red wine good for my heart? That idea comes from old studies, but modern research has debunked it. The World Health Organization has made it clear: no amount of alcohol is safe for the brain. What can you do instead? Swap that nightly drink for sparkling water with lime, unsweetened iced tea, or even kombucha with low sugar. These options give you the ritual without the damage. Now, we've seen the 7 foods and drinks that can quietly destroy your brain. But what about the ones that protect it? Let's end on a high note with 2 powerful foods proven to sharpen memory and keep your mind strong for years to come. Before we reveal the 2 foods that's actually good for you, if you're serious about protecting your health after 45, I've created something special for you. The Complete Food Safety Guide for Adults over 45, featuring 100 foods that actively support your health and 100 foods that are bad for your health. Which heart healthy snacks are actually loaded with hidden sodium? Which frozen meals are safe versus dangerous? Which cooking oils protect your arteries versus those that inflame them? You'll get clear answers to all of this and more. Check the link in the description below. Safe food number 2, fatty fish. If there's one food that scientists, doctors, and nutritionists all agree on when it comes to brain health, it's fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel. These oily fish are often called superfoods for the brain, and for good reason. They're one of the richest natural sources of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA and EPA, which your brain desperately needs. About 60% of your brain is made of fat, and a big part of that fat is DHA, one of the key omega-3s found in fatty fish. DHA is literally a building block for your brain cells. Without it, the membranes of those cells become weak, brittle, and less efficient at sending signals. When you eat fatty fish, you're giving your brain the raw material it needs to stay sharp and flexible. EPA, the other major omega-3 in fish, has powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Inflammation is a silent enemy of the brain, linked to depression, anxiety, and even neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. By reducing inflammation, EPA helps protect your brain from the inside out. A study published in Neurology found that older adults with higher levels of omega-3s had larger brain volumes than those who were deficient. Another landmark study from Harvard tracked thousands of people and found that those who ate fish at least twice a week had a significantly lower risk of developing dementia. Your body cannot produce DHA and EPA on its own. You have to get them from food. This is why relying only on processed diets, with little or no fish, leaves so many people deficient. Most experts recommend 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week. That could mean grilled salmon with vegetables, sardines on whole grain toast, or even canned mackerel in a salad. The fatty fish that give you the best brain benefits, salmon, sardines, anchovies, mackerel, are naturally low in mercury. Think of fatty fish as a shield for your brain. Every bite strengthens your memory, protects your neurons, and lowers your risk of decline. Safe food number 1: blueberries. If fatty fish builds your brain structure, blueberries are the food that keeps it young, sharp, and firing on all cylinders. These little berries may look simple, but they pack one of the most powerful combinations of nutrients for brain health. Blueberries, along with other dark berries like blackberries and raspberries, are rich in compounds called anthocyanins. These are antioxidants that give the berries their deep blue and purple color, but they also act like a protective shield for your brain. As we age, our brains are under constant attack from oxidative stress. Like rust forming on metal, it slowly damages your brain cells. Anthocyanins in blueberries neutralize free radicals before they can cause harm, keeping your neurons healthy and firing smoothly. In one famous study at the University of Exeter, older adults who drank concentrated blueberry juice every day for just 12 weeks showed measurable improvements in memory and blood flow to the brain. Another long-term study followed thousands of people for over 20 years. Those who ate the most berries had the slowest rates of cognitive decline, delaying memory loss by up to 2.5 years. Blueberries have been shown to increase neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to form new connections. When you feed your brain blueberries, you're giving it the tools to keep rewiring itself and staying sharp. Blueberries are incredibly easy to add to your diet. Sprinkle them over oatmeal, blend them into smoothies, toss them onto a salad, or just snack on them by the handful.